Welcome to the Take a Listing Today podcast, where our hosts Jim Studebaker and Todd Robertson give you strategies to get you out of the office right now so you can take a new listing today. And now, here's Jim and Todd.
Jim and Todd back live here on the Take a Listing Today podcast. I'm Jim on the right.
And this is Todd Robertson. We have some great content for you today. How many of you have to use the phone in your everyday business being a realtor?
Hopefully everybody's hand is going up.
And the reason today is why. What is our topic today? Why is this important?
Oh, well, there are some real estate professionals out there who actually have a fear of the phone, if you can believe that. So what we are going to do today is break you of that fear. This is not a therapy session, but it is good information on how to alleviate your fears when you are talking on the phone. And with us as always is Lisa Gray, our producer.
Lisa Gray.
Thank you. Happy to be here. So happy to be here.
All right. We are happy that you're here as well, because Todd and I would just be floundering around if we didn't have you here. So why don't we start with returning phone calls? Hopefully, if the phone rings, you're excited and anxious to answer it immediately. But if you're out doing what you're supposed to be doing, which is making listing presentations and signing contracts and showing homes, you may not answer your phone.
You won't always be available because you're with somebody, giving them the time that they deserve. Correct.
Exactly. So now you need to return a phone call, and some people get apprehensive about that, which is a little surprising. You've spent a lot of money on direct mail, on passing out business cards, passing out flyers, and it's making your phone ring. Now what do you do? So here's a few topics for you. First of all, don't be scared because it's not a cold call. They're reaching out to you. They have a purpose to call you. Clearly, they have a real estate need. Regardless of whether they're ready to move forward immediately or not, it's still a person that you can add into your contact management system, into your pipeline.
Correct. And another reason it doesn't have to be scary is because all you're doing is calling back and asking a series of questions. You're not selling anything yet. You don't even know, do they have a need that I can fulfill yet? So it's a very gentle call that you're just returning the call and asking a series of questions. And then from there, you can decide, does that lead to an appointment or not?
And remember, when returning phone calls, timing is everything. Here's a great study that Lisa came up with. The chance of reaching a person is highest at 5 minutes of the inbound call. So if you call back within 5 minutes, you're almost assured to get them. Now, here's what's surprising. If you wait half an hour, you are 100 times less likely to reach that person. If you wait 5 hours, which nobody should be waiting 5 hours to return a phone call, the likelihood of ever talking to that person again drops by 3,000 times.
Well, and here's why that's important. So all of you listening right now, you know how many realtors are in your board, right? And there's thousands. So look at that statistic and think about, if I'm a potential buyer or seller and I call and leave a message, how many other options do I have if that person doesn't respond back to me right away? I've got not just 2 or 3, literally thousands.
They're moving on. So ideally, answer the call. If you can't do it, return it immediately so you find out what they want and you can help them out. If you do have the luxury of the caller leaving a message on your voicemail saying, I'm calling about 123 Main Street, or calling to find out what's new on the market or whatever, prepare yourself before you call them back. Take down some notes about how you're going to respond and provide value to that caller. If it's a specific property that they're calling about, get the MLS printout in front of you and know all the details of that property.
Because knowledge is power, and as they're calling around, most people will not have this, and especially for you in your area. And if they leave you the details, it's very easy for you to do homework. So don't be lazy in that respect. Come to the table with strength and horsepower, because why? If someone's going to buy a house or sell a house, unless they're an investor, that's their biggest investment of their life. So they want somebody with some confidence, with some compassion, with some caring, and with some alacrity. Get back to them quickly, knowing that you care. Show compassion.
That's right. And here's something that might blow the minds of some real estate people. When a person wanting to buy real estate, sell real estate calls you, they're probably not only calling you, they're probably calling a lot of people for a lot of different things. So when you call them back, make sure you identify yourself, identify the company that you're with, and let them know that you are returning their phone call regarding 123 Main Street. That way they will know, oh yes, I called you. Now they know what the call is about.
Exactly. And think about how many times that's happened in our own lives, all of you listening and us sitting here right now. Think about your dishwasher breaks. We call an electrician or something happens and we leave a message, don't hear back, don't hear back. Well, guess what? The next day we're going to call a different company and get someone who answers the phone and they're going to get that job, correct? Mm-hmm. That's how it's going to work.
Right. So you kind of know what to say. Now, what should you not say? Well, don't, as they say, toot your own horn. Don't boast about yourself or your successes or your expertise unless the caller is asking what your qualifications are. Find out what they need. They don't care about you until they know that you care about them.
Correct. And another little technique, which is outside of here, which I remember Tony Robbins shared with us years ago, which when you're on the phone with somebody, to do matching and mirroring. So if you're taking notes, write down matching and mirroring. You could look that up. You could YouTube it. But it's a way to, let's say I'm making a phone call and I'm New York style, boom, very fast and very direct. And I'm talking to a person from Texas maybe, right? Mm-hmm. And there's slower tonality. So you want to match and mirror their tonality so you have more rapport with them unconsciously. They're going to think, oh, this person just like me. So if they talk very gentle and soft, then all you do is tone it down a little bit and go more gentle and soft. Doesn't mean you're less intense, but you're just matching and mirroring their tonality, which will allow you to have a better conversation and help that client out.
That is a great technique. So if I was coming from the South with a low country twang, how would you speak with me, Todd?
First, I go listen to some Randy Travis country music and try to work on the twang.
Okay, nice.
No.
I'm just kidding.
All I would do is simply slow it down. But it's a funny point because think about when you call a driver personality, they want boom, 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 boom off the phone. So you got to switch gears and say, boom, I'm talking to Lisa. I'm going to go into driver personality mode. Boom, 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 boom. And can we meet at 3 o'clock? So we're just going to feed them back the same.
Perfect. So part of what you want to accomplish when you're calling them back is to be a counselor for this potential buyer or seller. Listen to what they have to say, take some notes, ask some open-ended questions. And don't forget to ask if they have a home to sell, if they're looking for a house to buy, if they've spoken with a lender, if they want to tour the home they've called about. Just don't leave without asking for an appointment, asking for what the next step is.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Because guess what? The phone is for one thing, to get the appointment. We cannot sell them over the phone, right? We're dealing with real estate, so we need to set the appointment if they're qualified and priced correctly. But these are some strategies to help you eliminate the fear and really turn fear into power. Knowing if your competition is going to come from fear and be paralyzed by that voicemail or that person that called, you're not going to be. So guess what's going to happen? After 2 months, 6 months, 10 months of operating like this, your listing inventory goes way up.
That's right. And before you hang up, let them know that you're not going to hound them by calling them back nonstop, but you do want to ask for their permission to email them with some alerts or get their phone number for a text message here and there, because you want to be a resource for that person. Now, here's a great question. What do you do if you call them back and now you get their voicemail? What should you say?
Interesting. Well, you want to make sure that you state your name and company and the reason for calling, and you want to lead them a little bit of bait to call you back. So if you know they called on property 123 Happy Hollow, then you might leave them, oh, by the way, we have good news, that property is still available. And you could still use match and mirroring on the voicemail. So you want to be as respectful as possible, give them a couple ways to contact you, let them know that you did listen. A lot of people just hit call back. Mm-hmm. They didn't hear your voicemail. So listen to it. So when you call them back, you have more points to come from what's in it for them.
Exactly. And make sure you mention that you are returning their phone call so they don't think it's some solicitation from out of the blue. Let them know that you are returning their call and providing the information they requested.
Exactly.
So what about outgoing calls to the old-fashioned cold calls?
No, those are scary. Can we skip that one? Those are scary.
We've both done it. I recall sitting at a desk alone, dialing for dollars.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I recall, too, because my first broker, here's how my training went. Went in there at Bakersfield, California, right? Mm-hmm. Johnny Carson, I think I've told you this years ago. Johnny Carson said Bakersfield's not the end of the world, but you could see the end of the world from there.
Right.
So our training went like this. Here's your desk. Here's the phone. Good luck. You're on your own. That was how our training went.
At least it rhymes. So,
Correct.
So you got that going for you.
Exactly. But hey, it's a great point, even though we're having fun with it. Think about the old, out-fashioned cold call. Do great realtors in the country still do this? The obvious answer is yes. Do most people hate it? The obvious answer is yes. It's a double-edged sword, but elaborate why there's some magic in here. And if you are going to be a real estate agent, calling on a lead, or calling on a lead that you purchased, or calling on someone who might have inquired or sent you a text message, this right here hits home and can be worth a lot of money, especially helping them take a listing today.
Exactly. And people do it because it still works. It's a numbers game, basically. And keep track of your success ratio so you'll know what type of results you can expect. For example, a good rule of thumb in sales is 100 calls typically will provide 10 good leads. So that's a 10% conversion ratio. Your numbers might be different, but if you know I got to get 10 good leads, just put in your mind, I got to start calling about 100 people. And I'll get to it.
Now, here's a great thought. So on those 100 people, most of them are going to be a no, obviously. But think about this. If you can get strong with your dialogue, and we could do another podcast down the road on this, but if we can give you some great dialogue, in other words, before that phone call ends, and I've asked you 2 or 3 times, I've introduced myself, you don't have a need right now. So before that call ends, Jim, before we hang up, if you don't mind, who do you know that needs to sell their house in the next 90 days? The market's hot right now, and our office is low on inventory. Take one more bat on that referral.
Sure.
One more bat.
What's the worst that's going to happen?
Correct. Someone's going to say, you know what? My coworker, Susie, needs to sell. Could you give her a call? I like your style.
Absolutely. Never hurts to ask. And on that point, don't take things personal. If somebody chews you out or hangs up on you or screams at you, okay, move on.
That's a big one right there.
It's only business, not personal.
Oh, that's a big one right there. How many people out there have they go through real estate training school and they get excited about FSBOs or expired or past client sons of influence and driving down the road. Oh, they taught me this in class. Boom, they go knock on the door, or in this case, the beach. Okay, knock on the tree right here. And guess what? They have a bad experience. They shut the door on them. I didn't advertise. Guess what? They never called a FSBO again. They're scared now. Now they're at the office going, oh, geez, they didn't tell me it was going to be like this.
Maybe this is a wrong line of work here, right?
Right. But guess what? Repetition is the mother of skill. And failure, right, if they internalize it, they're going to knock themselves out of the game. No doesn't mean no forever, correct?
That's right. Baseball players strike out more than half the time.
Exactly.
But they keep going up there.
Yep. What's their right? The best ones are what in the high 2s or high 300.
Right.
Right. Batting average. Boom.
So there you go. Here's what will help you. If you have a nice environment, a calling space that's uplifting to make your outbound calls, here's a great idea. Have a mirror set up so that you can see yourself, and it will help you smile and project a nice, good attitude when you are on the phone.
Beautiful point. And I want you to write down right now, if you're taking notes, I want you to write down 3 statistics, because being on the phone, we're only communicating with 7%, which is words. So they tell us that words are 7% communication. Our voice, our tonality, our pauses, our voice inflection is 38%. And then our physiology is 55%. So people say, well, how can you use that on the phone? Well, you could stand up. You could use your physical energy, right? A lot of companies around the world that have call centers or people that make outbound calls or inbound calls are using their physiology. And that does come through energy-wise when they're chatting.
Absolutely, absolutely. Another great way to get pumped up, our producer Lisa puts us through this before every podcast show, is to play some uplifting music. And what would you consider uplifting, good pre-show music, Lisa?
Well, it could be music from the 70s, or some music maybe that is from growing up from your teenage years that gets you all excited. I don't know. I think music is an emotional thing. So any music that would have a great positive memory in your life. For me, it's the 70s.
I wasn't around in the 70s, I don't think. Let's see here. What year is this? I don't know.
29, right?
Right, 29. That's
Well, anti-aging, so we're fine.
I'll play some songs.
Working great, yes. All right, perfect. Let's move on from that topic. Make sure that when you call somebody, if you are fortunate enough to get somebody on the phone, that you know what you're saying. Have your script down or have your saying down. Don't be surprised when somebody answers and then just sit there and say,
Exactly. I mean, if you're going to help somebody with one of their biggest investments of their life, it's not an option. You have to come to the table with a relaxed sense of confidence. And that takes us back to a couple podcasts ago where we talked about the presentation, because that's where a lot of your confidence will come from. If you spend 2 weeks, 2 months, doesn't matter. If you get so excited to go show somebody this message that will help them maybe sell their house. See, now you're excited about something that most people hate because you paid the price. What does that cost you?
Right.
Nothing.
Right. And what happens if they don't answer, but you get an answering machine? Well, learn to love voicemail. Voicemail is great. Leave your name, a nice warming message, introduce yourself, make sure you leave your phone number and your email address, and let them know that you'll reach out to them in the future and actually do it if you say you're going to do it.
Exactly. And another way that I'm finding, which is interesting, is let's say people are busy. You know, when I leave a lot of voicemails, they're like, oh, for a faster response, text me at this number. And I'm going, oh, for a faster response. But maybe they're busy, maybe they're out, and they could send a sentence or two. So that's an interesting strategy as well.
I like that. It kind of gives you a sense of like you're going to miss out on something if you don't go for the faster response. I don't want the slow response. I want the fast response.
Todd, I have a question
Sure.
for you. Let's say you're sitting down and you're going to do outbound cold calls to expireds. Do you recommend having some type of script, something that you're going to work with versus kind of winging it?
Definitely. And here's the magic. Have a script. There are a ton of them out there. Have a script, but don't be robotic, right? So you have to work on it so much to where it becomes internalized, to where it's a natural flow of your dialogue, right? If you sound like you're reading it, you sound like it's a call center in Pakistan or a call center in Los Angeles, wherever it's going to be, it's no good. So it has to be very natural, competent, confident, and natural on the phone, at the kitchen table, at the listing presentation.
And final topic, final suggestion, make sure you follow up. Make sure that you're putting all these calls in your contact manager, whatever it is. Put down the results, and if you leave a voicemail with somebody or you speak with somebody and say you'll follow up with some information, make sure you actually do it. Put down what they need, and when you need to call them, make sure there's a reminder in there so you actually do what you say you're going to do.
And you know what? It's fascinating, and I know this because I've gone through it more than once. And guess what? If most realtors don't get the immediate result they want, because that's how they get paid, as we know, on commission, most are not great at that. If you got great at this last point that Jim Studebaker just brought up, that would be worth 5 or 10 closings to you in the course of a year, because your competition will not have a great follow-up system.
Just following up, that's all there is to it. That's all you need. So, by the way, make sure that you are putting in our show notes how you're using all of our techniques. Whether it's this podcast or one before, are the show notes all the same, Lisa, for all of them?
Yes, the show notes will give an email address where you can reach out to us if you've gone out and taken advantage of these actionable items that we talk about each week on the show, and you have success. Reach out, contact us, email us. We will showcase you on a future show. Talk about a way to stand out in the crowd. Why don't you have us reach out with a phone call to you or read your email on the show? Go out and take advantage of these strategies and tips.
Yeah, you'll have like millions of people hear your stuff, right?
Very nice. Not only will you have that, you'll be able to come back that evening and be able to take a listing that day.